So, patch 1.13. It has changed a lot. It has buffed a lot. And sadly, it is also, well... That aside, though, I'm sure you might be wondering, hey, I just want to still be annihilating, destroying, deleting in seconds bosses easily, as I have been doing. So what are the builds that still do that? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm here to tell you. This is the 5 best post-patch builds that actually, you know, use new DLC stuff. So, things like Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike or Jumping Bloody Curve Swords aren't going to show up here, despite obviously being some of the still best builds in the game. I want to keep it at least somewhat fresh. Though, I say that, sadly, eyeing up what's going to be number 1 on this list. But hey, with impenetrable thorns dethroned, it is quite the shake-up. So, getting straight into it then, at number 5, we have perhaps something a little bit simple and straightforward compared to everything else I'll be talking about, and that is simply a weapon by the name of Falx. The Revenger's Blade and its heavy follow-up is absurdly powerful. Now, it's not been made more powerful or less powerful numerically by the patch, but it has been given a really nice bit of utility that just keeps it trucking on as an absolute, well, hitting like a truck option. The ability to now just aim the heavy in essentially any direction you want after the charge is really lovely utility-wise for this weapon. So, you take it, you fill build the classics you might imagine you do for the weapon, your multi-hit talismans, your bleed-based setups, and then you go to town on any given boss, and you will have just a really nice time. I don't want to go too in-depth on this one, because it really is just use the weapon, have fun, but it's certainly worth mentioning, as it was already one of the best weapons in the game, and now it's just a little bit better. Next up then, a huge step up, we are looking at Jumping Holy Twin Blades. Made possible by the DLC because A, it uses 2 DLC weapons, and B, the Sword of Light buff really tips it over the edge, and you're already seeing the nuclear level of shredding it can do to bosses. You use a Black Steel Twin Blade in one hand and euporia in the other, and you are all set. And euporia specifically got some meaty buffs. Before, euporia was here as just a solid holy damage twin blade option to complement the build, as you can't get 2 Black Steel Twin Blades in one playthrough. But now, while it's still in that role, now make no mistake, this isn't the best euporia build, it just uses it. Euporia now is absolutely busted, and we will get to you with a min-max build on it that we're cooking up literally as I'm saying these words, so look out for that later today. But in any case, for now then, euporia gets charged up a lot quicker and gets a lot more holy damage when it is charged up, which means it will stack and stack the multiplicative damage of this build as you jump and hit across all of the multi-hits. And it's nice to see holy damage doing so well. A full setup powering up, literally that, holy damage on top of all your multi-hit boosts and jump boosts, and you are onto a winner that, yeah, can occasionally blast off the Euporia Rash of War. Even easier now, it's actually a thing that can happen while using the build, which is really cool. Thank you, patch. You can see on screen all of the things you need to set this up if you want to pause and have a look. Stats are there too. But I won't waste your time explaining it all in detail. For now then, we move on to number 3, one of my personal favourite creations of the DLC, Frosty Savage Lion's Claw. Now, Lion's Claw was already in contention for just the best Ash of War in the game. Savage Lion's Claw was a side grade, better for status, but you needed all 3 hits to land to make it better than Lion's Claw. As Lion's Claw on its initial first hit, and only hit, did more damage and poise damage than Savage Lion's Claw. So how have they changed Savage Lion's Claw? Oh, they've increased its damage and poise damage on the first attack. Yeah. So for a quick and dirty comparison, the first hit of Savage Lion's Claw, 2,957 on this build, and it will take 3 hits to stagger, though of course in this case it will just kill them. Then swapping over to regular Lion's Claw, as you can see, the gap between them is now much smaller. There is only a 700 damage discrepancy, which is much less than there was. And that is huge for Savage Lion's Claw, because it does have those 3 hits, so as soon as you even get the second hit now, it's just better than Lion's Claw. And it was already monstrous, as you're seeing, with all of the destruction it is weaving upon the bosses. This, I cannot express enough, is an absolute monster of a build that just got better. You get instant frost proc from the 3 hits, you do ridiculous damage, ridiculous poise damage, and you hyper armor, tank, and just trade with the boss, coming out on top every time. Using Freya's Curve Sword for a 10% damage stick on your back, which is just a really badass look by itself, and everything just lines up to make you feel like an absolute god while you're doing this. I really cannot both stress enough how good it is and how much I recommend it from just a pure enjoyment standpoint, and it remains one of the best new DLC enabled options out there. But now we step up once again to something a little bit closer to the Falx option on this list, which is more, hey, it's basically just a weapon, but it's still one of the best things in the game, and it's new in the DLC, and you know what I'm going to say, it's Bloodfiend's Arm. Put Bloodfiend's Arm on, set it to blood, give it Royal Knight's Resolve, heavy spam. Yes, it got nerfed in the initial patch, it's not been touched again here, and that means it gets to remain one of the most brainless, powerful, straightforward, though yes, satisfying ways to crush every single enemy in the game like it's nothing. It still does busted bleed build up every heavy, it still does busted damage, and really it's still stupidly simple to build for. You just put all of your charged attack enhancers on, you max out your arcane and then strength, you get to your bloodlords, your white mask, your general bleed setup, and you just hit that heavy charged attack button until you win. So really it's not the most exciting thing to talk about. That said, it is not the best way to bleed that the DLC has made possible, thanks to a new discovery I made recently when it comes to Milady, the light greatswords jumping attack moveset. This actually can out DPS jumping bleed curved swords, which is, I think needless to say, incredibly impressive. So what happens is when you jump an attack with power stance like greatswords, power stance Miladies, both on blood with seppuku, you will land, immediately do multi-hits, and then you skip into the latter stages of the ground power stanced combo, which means you get to the end of the combo really quickly, which means you get a lot of hits in very fast, which is great for status and multi-hit build-up, but you also actually get to use the Twin Blade Talisman to give a 45% damage buff to that final double hit that you have skipped to really quickly via using a jumping attack to do so. It's a really powerful quirk of the power stance moveset that we have taken righteous advantage of here, and I think the footage speaks for itself when you see what it does to bosses. This is so unbelievably fun, and of course no part of this was touched by the patch because no one really knows about it because we've only just released this the other day and it remains just tippity top. This is in contention for just the best build in the game, never mind anything else, so certainly I cannot recommend this enough. You're seeing here all of the things that you need to get it set up. Your flask has multi-hits and then either defense or blood-sucking. The stats are there, and the buffs are there too. It really, really gets the job done if all you're looking for is pure murder efficiency. So, that all said then, ladies and gentlemen, these are the 5 existing builds that have stood the patch, got better or not been nerfed, and remain excellent. There are quite a few new options that the patch has enabled that we are exploring, again, literally as I speak with euporia, but there is more too, and you are not ready for the kind of numbers that they produce. So get excited, stay tuned, and know that all of the builds I've talked about here, you can find most of them linked down below in a full detailed guide form too. For now then, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, goodbye. Bye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.